Good evening, Commandos. How are you guys doing today? Rooster here as always, and I guess we're going to do another vlog, kinda. So last week we talked about Pokemon and kind of my journey and what that's kind of been like. And I've gotten some really cool response so far from that. For those of you saying, you know, Charmander was not your first Pokemon, I'm willing to concede that maybe people have different opinions and that maybe they're not completely wrong about Charmander being the best. I mean, Charmander's totally the best. So I'm willing to concede for an audience for sake that maybe there's some leeway here. No, but because that segment did so well, and there was actually some engagement and messages, and people seemed to really care about that, I thought maybe I would talk about some other things that changed my life. Maybe we could call this segment even like Game Changer, because I mean, Pokemon obviously was a game changer. Pokemon, as I talked about, you know, it taught me some life lessons, you know, some real heavy moments of my life, or at least a really heavy moment of my life, one of the heaviest, of course. And you guys thought that was interesting. So what I thought maybe I would talk about is another game that I found that has had a profound effect on who I am as a person, or my interests, or my hobbies. And that game this week would actually be, I actually kind of fell back into it recently, so it's kind of convenient. It would be MechWarrior Dark Age. Now what this is a booster pack. MechWarrior Dark Age was a collectible miniatures game. Collectibles miniatures game means that it was very similar to the Pokemon trading card game and other collectible games. You would buy boosters and you would hope to get rares, but I mean, you know, it's like usually we're like, you got something. With this game, you would always get 2 infantry, a vehicle, and a mech inside of it. This is the very first set, Dark Age. It's set in the Battletech universe. It's set in the year 3130, I believe. And it takes place after the storyline of the game is that there is a hyperpulse generator network that spans the galaxy. There's a whole, like, hundreds of worlds, Earth being the center of these different prefectures. And there's even outer worlds outside these. Think of like a giant tire with spokes, and that's how you would divide up the prefectures. And then outside of that were the outer worlds, the clan worlds. And the idea was that the communication network, which was able to make, you know, planets be able to communicate with each other within hours, it went down. And so it was the Dark Age. And all these, it was a soft reboot of the Battletech universe, because what they kept doing in that was they kept Battletech being in the late 2000s to early 3000s. And then this kind of takes place afterwards. So it's kind of the future of the Battletech universe, if that makes sense. And obviously in 20 years, the lore is expanded. But yeah, so the game was really cool. It was a way to try to bring people into the miniatures game. And I'm going to open this booster right here to kind of show you what I mean by that. So like I said, there were always 2 mech. There was always a mech, a vehicle, and an infantry. So this one came with, this is just a common mech. This is called an aggro mech mod. What that means is it was an industrial mech that would have been modified to have a gun, as you can see it. Now, this is the dial that would have been used. Now, normally in miniatures games, you have a stat sheet that kind of tells, especially the Battletech, that tells you how the mech was able to fight, what was able to happen, and what they were able to do. This didn't revolutionize it. Mage Knight would have done that a couple years before, but this took it from the fantasy realm into the sci-fi realm. And so with this click dial, you'd be able to click through it, and it's kind of old, so it's a little rough. It's going to need a little bit of work to, because it's about 20 years old. But then you could click through it, so you could be like, okay, cool, he's this strong, and then it would change. They had different abilities on there. There was no real changing it up. There was a second edition that was called Age of Destruction, which kind of changed that up a little bit, which was kind of cool. They would always come with like stickers, so you could put your name on them and then put them on the bottom of the mech. I never did that. And then later sets introduced flying units. They introduced artillery units. Like in this one, it was just like a regular little tank. This actually, this would have been kind of a crappy pack, to be honest. In the first one, Scimitar is an okay vehicle. Chevron-wise, told you how strong they were, and then we'll see who the infantry were. The infantry, they're okay. Steel Wolf and a Dragon Fury. I played Banson's Raiders, which were kind of mercenaries. I really liked them. They were my favorite. Yeah, so like this game, and then I guess I'll pop show you guys what the infantry look like too. And then the infantry would just kind of look like this. And everything was on the standard dial. It would roll through. You would just turn the dial. And then whenever there were bullet holes, 3 bullet holes, that meant your unit was dead. Now, what was so, for me, revolutionary about MechWarrior is my cousin played it. And I talked about it was the same cousin that played Pokemon and the same cousins that I got to know out there. So, MechWarrior itself, I already had kind of played Mage Knight a little bit with Bill, and but I have always been a sci-fi guy. At this point, I knew I liked sci-fi, and this kind of confirmed and really solidified my love affair with giant robots. Because, I mean, the robot scale was just freaking awesome. Like, you had the little guys, and then you had these giant mechs. And I knew I loved mechs, and I didn't realize it until that point. Because when I was a kid, I watched a show called Exo Squad, and I always got into, like, just the giant robots fighting each other, like old kaiju movies and stuff like that. But MechWarrior was a chance for me to kind of I learned how to like think strategically. I learned how to try to outfox my opponent. I actually got really good at it. It was a chance for me to I don't know, like grow. Like I grew as a person, and like my critical thinking skills. At this point, this would have been this game came out in 2002. I played through early 2000 to late 2003, early 2004. So I played about 2 years. And then just high school kind of got in the way, and I drifted away from it until recently when I found some groups, and there's actually a local group in the area that plays MechWarrior, which is so cool. But this game made me really stop and like have to think like, oh, like here's what I can do, and try to think ahead and try to come up with a strategy and try to critically think. Like I didn't have a lot of money, so I mean it was a collectible game. So collectible games usually have the problem where, well, if you can't afford the good units, how are you going to win? And I was able to come up with ways to win without affording the best units. I did get lucky. There were a couple really good pulls that I had. I made some trades because it was a collectible game, so you could always trade units. And I did fairly well for myself. I had a decent amount of limited edition mechs. And one thing that I had going for me, and I think I mentioned in a video once before or something, is that my mom would be more than willing to shell out $10 a month so that I could get the limited edition figure, because there was also a campaign, so then every month you could get one of the campaign figures, or if you played for both sides, you get both campaign figures, send away, and then like in like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 weeks they'd send you back the figure. And that worked out really well. My mom was able to help me out there. So, with that, she was able, no matter how poor we were, she was able to like, hey, here's, $10, $15 a month so that we can send away for these stupid toys for Chuck. And I really appreciated that. And it meant a lot to me because then, like I said, I was able to build these great armies, and I was able to get my friends into it a little bit. My buddy Eric really got into it. We still play a little bit. We just found a great deal on an Age of Destruction, which was the 2nd edition starter set, so we were able to play that. And it's something that we're actually kind of thinking about opening up and maybe kind of showing you guys a little bit more of. But yeah, man, MechWarrior was just, for me, it was a game that went from, that really would start my fall, or love affair, maybe, with the tabletop gaming idea. Again, it wasn't the first game to do the clix system. Mage Knight came before it, and then HeroClix would come after it. And I played both Mage Knight and HeroClix. And I know HeroClix is still going, and some of you guys may actually be big HeroClix players, but it was, there's a lot that's owed to the Mage Knight and the MechWarriors, because they, unfortunately, they're dead games at this point. But they went from being like, I can play video games, to, I can put this stuff on a table and you get this nice tactile feel, and it really kind of gave me the bug to really start enjoying the idea of a tabletop game. I wouldn't go forward or really get, I would still play some card games at this point. I was still playing Yu-Gi-Oh!, I would play Yu-Gi-Oh! Through the end of high school, and then I would get away from that kind of tabletop. But then a few years later, someone would introduce me to like Warhammer. I would get the chance to, I was definitely open to the idea of tabletop games. And, because of that, because of playing these tabletop games, these miniatures games, and it would I would say probably about 10 years after MechWarrior I quit playing, is when I would finally make the jump into the hobby. And I really think that a game like MechWarrior, and just like, really starting to get that enjoyment of just playing with these just hard plastic pieces, and this, that tactile feeling of moving something around a board, and really, like trying to outfox your opponent. Whoopsies. Let me throw it across the room. And trying to outfox your opponent and trying to outthink them, whenever it's like, that really, really, I think is the reason that I got into board gaming and the reason that I'm still into board gaming so heavily. And I mean, I think that we have MechWarrior to thank for that. I mean, on top of that, it's cool lore. There's like 30 different MechWarrior books you can read right now. There's an entire history of BattleTech that you're able to go back. BattleTech is still huge. It's still a great tabletop game. Recently, Catalyst Games is putting it out. They put out a 2-player box set starter that's so cool and such a great time. If you're into minis, they're unpainted, so you're able to paint them. They're a little bit cheaper because they used to be metal minis. I believe they're doing plastic minis now as well. You can still get some sweet units in the metal though, and it is a great game. I mean, there's a learning curve to it, of course, and that was what was also nice about this. Like, they hoped that people would get into MechWarrior and they would not be like, oh, this is really fun. Maybe I should check out the other game. And I don't know how many people got into MechWarrior. Like, a lot of clix-based players got mad. They were like, we don't like this stupid clix game. And there's still a pretty hard divide over the people that like clicky tech, as they call it. I like clicky tech and I like BattleTech. So if there's a problem with that, well, I don't know, man. I'm just a man of two worlds, I guess. But I definitely would say that without MechWarrior, I would not be the board gamer and not be the hobby gamer that I am right now. And I mean, who knows? Maybe I wouldn't be checking out these Pokemon cards, and maybe the Chrome Commandos wouldn't exist. Who knows, man? I do think that there's a correlation between my love of geeky things and MechWarrior. I do think that there's definitely a correlation there. With that, I don't know how much else to say on this one, but this was definitely a game that changed my life for the better. If you guys played MechWarrior, or you may have played any of the Click games, let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit subscribe so you can see the other videos. They're not usually me talking about like, hey man, this is what I like. Usually it's me opening something up or looking at something, or just telling, reviewing it at least. So I mean, usually it is me saying what I like, I guess. But it's less my life and more like, hey, look at this cool new product. But yeah, man, thank you guys so much. Hit that subscribe button. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know, was there a game that really changed your life? I think that's a really good question, and I'd love to find out. Until the next time, guys, this is Rooster, signing out.